Hi, I'm Chef AJ from Leeds, and today we're going to be turning this cream into butter. I'm going to be using a leftover jam jar to do a bit of shaking. So let's get going. Before we start cooking one of these Leeds recipes, we need to do these three things. Number one, if you've got long hair, get a bobble and tie your hair back. If you've got short hair, make sure it's neat and tidy and away from your face. The second thing to do, we need to use plenty of soap and warm water, and you need to give your hands a really good wash for 20 seconds and then give them a good dry with either some blue roll or a towel. Number three, apron. You've got to look like a chef if you want to cook nice chef quality food. Get your apron, put it over your head. If it's a bit long and it's sort of dangling down a bit, you can tighten it with the buckle. And then take these bits and pass them around your side. Like so, bring to the front and then just tie in a bow. Just like that. Let's go. For this recipe, you're going to need some double cream, some water, little pinch of sea salt, and for the first step, we're going to need a nice recycled jam jar with a tight fitting lid. In this first step, we're going to be taking our cream, adding it to our jar, putting the lid on, and we're going to be giving it a good shake. The first thing we're going to do is going to get our double cream and our jar. I'm going to carefully pour in our double cream, like that. And then we're going to put our lid on and make sure it's nice and tight, like that. And now we're going to give it a shake. Now, if you get tired, give it to the next person, hand the jars around, giving them a good old shake. I always like to keep my fingers on the top as well, just in case. Shake, 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 shake. So we can see how it's gone really thick. What we're going to do now is bring the fork and we're going to continue to mix like this. A little bit easier than shaking. And again, do this between you. And there we go. Can you see how it's starting to go almost lumpy and grainy? That is a sign that we are really close to this being ready. So I'm going to keep going, keep stirring. Make sure you're scraping all the edges of the bowl. Keep going. Now, can you see how we've now got all of this liquid in the bottom and then all of this on top, and that is our butter. And down here we've got our buttermilk, and what's so clever about this recipe is that buttermilk is going to be going into our soda bread later on. No waste. We've got our lovely butter and buttermilk. And what we're going to do now is we're going to be passing the butter and buttermilk through one sieve, and then we're going to give it a little bit of a wash before finishing. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to our sieve that's just over a jug. We take our butter out like so and place it in the sieve. And then we're going to pour all that in through the sieve. Make sure it's all out. And you can see how all the buttermilk has fallen through. I'm going to give this now a very light press, just lightly with my fork, and just move it about slightly. And what that's going to do is just remove any last bits of buttermilk. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move our sieve and butter over here to another bowl. And we're going to take some really nice cold water and we're going to rinse like so. So I'm going to push that over the top, let it sort of drizzle. Give the butter a little move, like so. I'm giving that a good mix, and then I'm going to wash with the last bit of water there. And what we're doing is we're going to make sure that all of the buttermilk has been rinsed away, like so. And that's allowed us to wash away all of the buttermilk. So now you can really see we've got some butter forming. I've got some sea salt here, but you could use table salt on top of the butter. And we're just going to carefully just mix that through. That's it, done. And the last thing we're going to do is we've got our jar from earlier and we've got that lovely buttermilk going to pour that into the jar, like so. And that we're going to keep to one side for making our soda bread. Pop the lid on. And now we can move on to the next step. First thing we need to do is to take our greaseproof paper. I'm just going to lay it out on my table like that. And then I'm going to take my butter, just scrape it out with the fork onto the paper. And any of this, make sure we don't waste any. That's one side. And now we're going to roll this into a little log. So I'm just going to pick up the paper like this and roll it over so it's all tucked in. And then I can just use my fingers just to press it out slightly. I'm going to roll the whole way. So I'm going to make it nice and a round shape like that. And then I'm going to make it look like a Christmas cracker. I'm going to pinch at both ends like so. And then twist one side. And then twist the other side. And you can see I've got a butter Christmas cracker. Put it on the table like so. And then let's label it. So I'm going to write Chef AJ. And then I'm going to put my finished butter Christmas cracker into the fridge to set. And there we go. We made cream into butter and buttermilk that we're going to put in our bread a little later on. Hi, I'm Chef AJ from Leith, and today we're going to be making a really delicious cheese and chive soda bread. In this recipe, you're going to need some plain flour, water, some buttermilk, yogurt, cheddar cheese and chives, butter, salt and bicarb of soda. In this recipe, we're going to be learning how to rub in, how to knead, how to cut with a table knife, and how to portion our bread rolls. In this first step, we're going to be using our sieve to sift our flour into our mixing bowl, and we're going to be adding our salt and bicarb as well. And then we're going to be rubbing in our butter. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our flour and put it into our sieve, just carefully. And then we're going to give the sieve a little tap on the side of our hand over this bowl, like that. And this will help get rid of all the lumps. And when you get to the end there, if you've got a few little bits, you can just press that through. Done. That was nice and easy. The next thing we're going to do is we'll add all of our salt. And we'll add all of our bicarbonate of soda. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to give this a little mix just to mix in the salt and the bicarb. And then we're going to drop in our butter, like so. And now we're going to use the tips of our fingers to rub in the butter. The palms of your hands can be very hot and we don't want the butter to melt. So we're just going to use the tips of our fingers like this. So we're going to start to rub the butter in to the flour like so. Just like that. And what we can do also is just lift as well. So now I'm going to rub and lift like that. And what that's going to do is it's going to keep the flour and the butter nice and cold as it falls down to the bowl. You can see I'm just using the tips of my fingers to rub this in and my thumbs, just like that. There we go. And the best way to find out if you've rubbed in your butter well enough is to give the bowl a little move backwards and forwards. And if you've got any lumps of butter, they will have come to the surface, but you can see with me, I haven't got any there at all. So that is perfect. And now it's really important that we're going to go and have a really good wash of our hands in hot soapy water, because look at those. We always want to work clean and tidy. For this next step, we're going to be adding our cheese and we're going to be snipping our chives into our flour mix. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our grated cheese. We're going to put that in. Perfect. And now we're going to snip our chives. So I've got a nice little bunch of fresh chives here, got a really oniony taste. I'm going to hold them like so, and then using some scissors, I'm just going to come along and snip like that. I'm just going to carefully work down the chives till I get near to my fingers. Then I'm going to reset and just keep going until you get near to your fingers and there's not much left to hold on to, like that. And that can go into your food waste. Now if we take a wooden spoon, we're just going to give this a little mix, just so that the cheese and the chives are all nicely mixed through. Perfect. And now I'm going to get the wet ingredients. This is the perfect time to turn your oven on. Your teacher may be helping or doing it for you. It's 190 degrees centigrade. In this next step, we're going to add all of our yogurt and buttermilk into our dry ingredients. That's where all the flavour is going to come from. And then we're going to add a touch of water until we're really happy with the texture of our soda bread. The first thing we're going to do is just make a little well in the middle, like so. And we're going to pop in all of our buttermilk. And then into that, we're going to add all of our yogurt as well. So we'll scrape all that in like that. Perfect. And now what we can do is very slowly, just moving this, we can start to stir and bring all of the wet and the dry ingredients together. I'm just going to move this around very slowly. It doesn't go everywhere. Like so. There we go. So that's great, we've got all that in, and you can see we've got these sort of large lumps here, and that's what we're looking for, but it's still very dry. That means we need some water to go in to help. So, to get my little dish of water here, and I'm going to start by only adding half of this water. So I'm going to pop that down, and now we'll mix again, moving nice and quickly, because it might not need all this water, but we'll just take our time, keep going. Can you see how we're getting a big ball is almost trying to form? I'm going to clean my spoon off there. And start to bring this together. See, I've still got some dry bits in the bottom, so really important that we don't have those. Just keep moving, like so. Let's have a little look and a feel. So I'm just using my hands to work this, and you can see I've got that lovely pillowy texture, sort of nice and soft, a little bit sticky but not too much, nice and smooth. But there's a few little dry bits still in the bottom. So I'm just going to work the dough, just pushing nice and slowly so that all those little bits of dry dough are in our big lump of dough here. There we go. Perfect. In this next step of the recipe, we're going to be kneading, portioning and shaping our dough into nice little rolls. My dough's all nicely mixed, and what we're going to do is I've got a little bit of extra flour here. I'm just going to put a little bit on my work surface, and I'm going to take the dough out of the bowl and onto that flour and put that to one side. And now we're going to knead our soda bread just for 30 seconds. Really easy to do. You're going to use the palms of your hand and you're going to push the dough like so. See that? So you're going to push the dough, and you see how it's tearing? That's what we want to see. And you're going to roll it, pull it back, and then using your other hand, you can push like that as well. Just a few times like that. I'm pushing and pulling back. And if you find it's getting a little bit sticky like that, don't worry. It's a little bit of flour on top. Only a little bit. And push, pull back. A little bit quicker now. Until it's really well combined. Just like that. I'm just going to sort of flatten the dough out a bit, and I'm going to use my table knife, and we want to make sure it's nice and even. I'm going to cut down the middle first, straight down like so. So we've got these two bits now. And then I'm going to cut these into 4, like that. And the same again here, like that. And then I'm going to cut each of these into 2. So then we've got 8, just as accurately as you can. So I've got 1, 2, and last one's 7, 8. Just like that, 7, 8. So that is the start of all of our 8 soda bread rolls. I'm going to take my tray now that we've lined just with a little bit of paper, grease-proof paper, and I'm just going to put a little flour on my hands, like so, and then pick up one of our rolls. I'm going to roll it in between my hands like this. And look how that's made. If I slow down, the palms of my hands, it's made a lovely little ball. And pop that on the tray, and then I'm going to get my wooden spoon from earlier, and I'm going to press down like that, and then the other way, press down like that, little cross, and that gives you a traditional soda bread shape. Perfect, onto the tray, and then I'm just going to mark them all with that cross. Perfect, they're looking great. And now we're ready for cooking. My rolls are all on the tray. I've got my oven gloves and mitt on. I'm just going to open the oven door, like so. Your teacher might be doing this for you or helping you. I'm going to pick up my tray and then come over, and then very carefully I'm just going to slide our lovely little rolls into the oven. Just like that, on the top shelf. Shut the door. And we're going to be cooking those bread rolls for about 20 to 25 minutes. It's been about 20 minutes and you can see we've got some lovely golden buns. So let's go and get them out of the oven. Open the door. Wow, look at those. They smell so cheesy and delicious. Really nice. Got a few of the little crosses on there. And they've just got that wonderful smell and colour. And that's what we're looking for. Lovely golden brown, really nicely risen. You can see a little bit of the melty cheese. And there we have it. Look at those lovely cheesy buns. They smell so delicious. Let's tear it open. Oh, look at that. Little steam. Beautiful. And then, remember our freshly made butter from earlier? Take a little bit of that out of there. That's lovely. The cheese, bit of the chive onion, so light and airy. They are one of my favourite ones yet.